Is a killer still on the loose? Fast-breaking developments in a community crippled by fear after the grisly discovery of a precious little girl's body on a riverbank outside of Detroit. Police believe the child is 5-year-old Nevaeh Buchanan, and they are hunting for the monster responsible. The body was found in a shallow grave on the riverbank with quick, dry cement poured on top of it. A father and son out fishing spent hours sitting on that slab of cement before realizing they were sitting on a murdered child's makeshift grave.
It's pure evil. That's not even mean, that's not even rotten, that's not even psycho, that is literally pure evil. Filth.
Hellish. Now we learn that the child's body is so badly decomposed, Nevaeh's family has to wait for DNA to come back to get a positive ID from the medical examiner. That could take weeks. The body is in such bad shape that the family has not been allowed to see the child to do their own identification. But despite the horror, Nevaeh's mom, Jennifer Buchanan, now insists she wants to view those remains.
I want to see her one more time, yes. No matter what.
Jennifer, meantime, has come under harsh criticism for exposing her 5-year-old daughter to 2 adult male friends who are now both persons of interest in this case. Both men are convicted sex offenders. Jennifer is also speaking out, telling local media she had nothing to do with her daughter's disappearance and might know who does. So what really happened on that fateful afternoon little Nevaeh went missing? I will show you the timeline. Plus, those 2 persons of interest, George Kennedy and Roy Smith, have just been moved from the local county jail to state prison. What exactly does that mean? What does it signify? Given that cops have maintained over the weekend the killer knows the area well and is probably still out there. Tonight, there's grueling work underway as evidence collected at the scene is being carefully sifted. Just how are investigators going to bring this cretin to justice so little Nevaeh's neighbors can sleep at night? Because right now, they ain't sleeping. They're scared. Straight to my expert panel. Mark Eiblarsh, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. Curtis Sliwa, founder of the Guardian Angels. Mike Gaynor, retired NYPD detective and president of East Coast Detectives. Brian Russell, forensic psychologist and attorney. And Jeff Carew from the Associated Press joining us by phone. Jeff, you have been covering the story from the start. What is the very latest?
Well, the medical examiner in Wayne County has submitted tissue samples for special testing. And they say it could be at least 2 weeks before it gets results. So it's going to be hard to know the time of death, the cause of death. Meanwhile, we have the Michigan State Police Crime Lab trying to compare DNA samples taken from the body that was found by the river and trying to compare those samples to Nevaeh Buchanan. So it's a waiting game in Michigan, I think, even as certain elements move forward.
Yeah, and the mom says now she wants to see those remains even though they're badly decomposed. And she's also appears to be having a change of heart on another issue. And I want to get my panel's reaction to this because this is just in, and it is a shocker. This morning, Jennifer Buchanan spoke to a local radio station, Channel 955, Mojo in the Morning, and she made a startling revelation about who she thought might be involved with her daughter's disappearance. Listen.
I'm pretty sure that probably someone associated with George or his girlfriend or a few other, I don't know.
Wow, that is a change of tune. Curtis Sliwa, you know and I know she had been sort of defending her buddy, possibly boyfriend at one time, George Kennedy, the convicted sex offender who says he was a father figure to this child, a man who is now behind bars on a possible parole violation for even being around this child. Now she's saying, wow, I think maybe he did have something to do with it.
Wow, she has really flipped the script because originally I thought she was going to do the jail time for Kennedy, who had violated his parole. That's how in simpatico she was with this guy. But I'm telling you, I'm looking at this mother more and more, and I'm beginning to have a very jaundiced look at her and saying, quick drying cement? That's what organized crime does. Somebody planned this out. Somebody had to have that in their car or pickup truck and then purposely kill this girl, if in fact this is the victim, and then bury her right near the riverfront. This is really looking bad, pre-planned, and real sick, and I don't know if the mother's fingerprints are on this.
Well, listen, at this point, she is a grieving mother, maybe a mother with very bad judgment, but there isn't any indication that she was involved. But I think this change of heart about her buddy, George Kennedy, is fascinating. Today, cops moved these two persons of interest who were in custody from the county jail to state prison. And once again, the two people are George Kennedy, the convicted sex offender, and allegedly a former boyfriend of Nevaeh's mom, and the other man, Roy Smith. Smith is also a convicted sex offender and a friend of both George Kennedy and the little girl's mom. Both were taken in on parole violations. However, cops made this shocking claim just last week.
That person, to our knowledge, is still out there in the community. In my opinion, it is a very sick or disturbed person we're looking for. A person that is able to abduct and murder an innocent 5-year-old child.
So, Mark Eiglarsh, they say the killer, they believe, is still out there, but George Kennedy and Roy Smith are being shipped off to state prison. Now, why do you think that is? Is it an attempt to put pressure on them? Is it tougher to be in state prison, or is this standard operating procedure for a parole violation?
Well, it very well might be that they believe that they themselves didn't have anything to do with it, but take what the mom says. Mom says maybe Kennedy was involved by him somehow informing other people about this child. You put all that together, it makes me despise the mother even more. I know she's grieving, but she's the one who brought Kennedy into their lives. She's the one who met these folks at a parole office. She's the one who put them in touch with their child. It gives me more reason to question her judgment.
What is going on, Brian Russell? You're the psychologist with this mom. I mean, first she stands up for this guy, and even in an extraordinarily codependent move says, I hope that they don't hold a grudge against me for everything that's happened. And now maybe the denial is going away, and the reality of the horror, the nightmare is becoming apparent, and she's thinking, oh, wait a second. Because she used to say, anybody can be an offender. That's what she said. That's what came out of her mouth, defending George Kennedy.
Yeah, the whole thing is horrible. First, let me say, this is Nevaeh, that is my opinion, but this is Nevaeh, as we saw in the Casey Anthony case, when law enforcement is not even feigning any caution to us in the media to say that it might be somebody else, that's a pretty strong indication that this is going to be Nevaeh. I think that I'm not surprised at this point in the story that the mother is out there seeming to look out for herself more than the daughter, talking about how she's going to be found completely innocent of anything. I don't know if that's because she expects at some point to actually be implicated, or just because there's a guilt factor, as you said, coming in for the fact that she exposed this girl apparently to at least 2 convicted sex offenders, one of whom she met, believe it or not, apparently at the parole office. What a place to meet a stepfather figure to have around your kid. Paroleeharmony.com. It's
well, she
unbelievable.
herself did time. She did 11 months on home invasion, and her own mother says that's because she had a drug problem. And Mike Gator, for me, it always comes back to people who have drug problems, having kids, and then not being able to take care of them properly. But it doesn't necessarily mean that she's involved. I mean, we have to be very careful about that. Even these persons of interest, you heard the cops say they think the person's still out there. These 2 persons of interest are behind bars.
Well, I heard him say that, but I don't necessarily agree with him, although there's probably some people out there that may be involved in the case. Look, it's really simple, Jane. 1 + 1 = 2. This woman, derelict in her duties as a mother, allowing her child to be unattended outside the house, bringing these sex offenders into her house. These are the type of things that create problems. She should have known better, and she didn't. I think the answer is going to be right in front of us when it's resolved, after the science is done with the body.
Yeah, all right. Everybody, more on the unspeakable murder of this poor, helpless child in just a moment. Cops have 2 persons of interest in custody, but say the killer may still be on the loose. Call 1-877-JDM says, 1-877-586-7297. Sound off on this horrific crime.